This ain't no 1 or 2 time. Listen, this is the type of thing where we need to work on the mind. You gotta work on the mind. You gotta program the mind. The mind is not gonna take an impression just because you say 1 or 2 positive things. Something's gotta be impressed upon it. And it's gotta be impressed upon it in a way where you gotta put a groove there. Think about it like this. Let's say that you got a yard, right? And your child gets dropped off by the school bus at the stop sign. So they gotta walk from the stop sign to your front door. You got a yard. Now if the kid walks, the kid could either cut across the yard, or the kid could go all the way to the end of the street in front of the driveway and then turn and then come into the house. Now most kids want to take a shortcut, so they're gonna cut across the yard. Now what happens if that kid keeps cutting across your yard that whole entire school year? What's gonna happen? It's gonna create a groove in the yard, right? You're gonna sit there and have a worn path where grass is not gonna grow in the yard because your child keeps cutting across the yard. And you're gonna be pissed because you're gonna be like, look at the yard, you done tore it up. Quit cutting across the yard. There's probably some parents right now that know exactly what I'm saying, what I'm talking about, because that's what their kid does. Instead of walking to the driveway to come to the house, they wanna cut across the yard. Now if your child walks across their yard one time, is it gonna create a groove in the yard? No, it's not gonna create a groove in the yard. If your child walks across the yard twice, is it gonna create a groove in the yard? No, it's not gonna create a groove in the yard. How many times would your kid have to walk across their yard to actually create a groove in the yard? I don't know, you probably don't know either. But the reality is, it's gonna take quite a bit of trips through their yard to actually groove their yard to the point where the yard won't grow grass. But the reality is this, at some point you're gonna groove that yard. And when you groove it, it's gonna stay grooved like that. And that's what we gotta be thinking in our minds when we wanna reprogram the mind. It's not gonna take 1 or 2 trips across the yard. It's not gonna take 3, 4 trips across the yard. You're gonna have to work on this thing. And you're gonna have to work on it with the intentions of creating a groove in the yard. You gotta groove your brain though. That's what you're gonna have to do. You're gonna have to groove your brain. It's like anything else. When you create the groove, you're gonna have to keep going over the groove if you want it to be permanent. Because eventually, if you stop going across that yard, the grass is gonna grow back. These motivators are like creating that groove in the yard. When you keep listening to them, when you keep playing them back, when you keep playing them over and over, you're creating that groove in your brain that says, I wanna reprogram my subconscious mind. I wanna program my mind for success. I wanna program my mind for greatness. I want to program my mind to be better than I am right now. I want to program my mind to take it to the next level. That's what these motivators are designed for. That's what these motivators are engineered for. I'm an engineer. I engineer stuff.